The Harmonious Pimps of Harmony. The group that lit the world on fire, peed on that fire to put it out, only to find that from their pee had grown a beautiful garden that the world can never possibly hope to repay, are innovators, superstars, babysitters, and most of all, heroes. This is their story. Paul McNeil, aka Apollo, and Ruben Gradstein, aka MC Ruben Sandwich, grew up as neighbors in New Hartford, New York, a suburb of Utica. In elementary school, Ruben's parents were too busy with their life of organized crime to pick him up from school, so he'd go over to Paul's house after school, and they'd play music together.
It was a great time in my life. Paul's house was a safe place for me. I would go over there and organize his sweaters, and then he would come in and just scream at me constantly, throwing hammers at my head and yelling things like all over the place, and then everything would be wonderful, and afterwards he would just it on my head and I would live there with that on my head.
It was alright. He always had peanut butter on him, which was nice. He couldn't eat it because of an allergy, but he had it for me, so that was cool.
Alejandro Velasquez was born in 1981 in Havana, Cuba, to a well-known weatherman named Hector Velasquez. Though Groove showed an early affinity for music, his father wanted him to go into the family business.
My father was a weatherman, his father was a weatherman, my brothers are weathermen. My great-grandfather was a lieutenant colonel in the Great Cuban Weatherman Revolt of 1867, yo!
But when Groove went off to school, his grades simply couldn't cut it, so he quickly dropped out.
I went to school to be a meteorologist-ologist.
Is that someone who studies meteorologists?
Samson Green, who would later become world-renowned as the Reverend, had humble beginnings. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, Samson began his career by singing funky-ass bass in his church choir.
I was real good. When I was 11, I could sing a quintuple low A. That's 2 octaves below the lowest note on the piano.
Word of his deep faith and even deeper voice spread far and wide, and at the young age of 20, he was offered a parish of his own just outside of his hometown of Atlanta.
Then I hit a slight snag.
It only took a few months for him to lose everything. His dreams of being a famous man of God would have been shattered forever if not for fate stepping in. But soon a twist of fate would bring them each together in the form of an intro to typing class at the Utica School of Commerce. They were all at their personal bottoms. The only place they could go was up.
I needed to type so I could write fake prescriptions.
The Reverend swore off drinking and drugs, Groove swore off peanut M&Ms, and Apollo and MC Ruben Sandwich began writing their first album.
So we moved to New York City together, and we started our first group, Fat Cubby and the Steam Engines.
The product, 12 Reasons to Love One Dude, unfortunately fell flat commercially, and the boys began to lose hope. That is, until a local manager, Ira Comdog, heard potential in their young voices.
First time I heard them, I wanted to eat their eyeballs and absorb their power. That's what the Aztecs used to do.
With the ink still wet on their new contracts, they went to work on their second studio album. What was to follow was one of the most influential and profound inventions in the history of music.
So we were working on our second album, right? And Apollo bet me that I couldn't fit 8 electrical fuses into my mouth. Which is nuts because I could put like 16 plátano maduro frito up there and back home. So I did my stretches and I put 8 of them fuses all up in my grill, son. But only 7 came back, yo.
So we lost power in the studio, and Ira had to go to the store to buy another fuse to replace the one that Groove had swallowed.
Since we couldn't turn on the equipment, we just sang under our rapping a cappella.
When I came back with the replacement fuses, I heard this sound. It was like nothing I'd ever heard before. It was as if someone was pouring liquid gold into my ears, which you would think would be very painful. And it was.
What he heard that night would change music forever. Hip-hop without instruments. The group kept the style and later coined it as hip-acapella.
Yo, put your whole hand in her mouth. Yeah, so we decided to only do hip-acapella, so we needed a beatboxer.
And at that time, I had a pen pal who was mad sick at mouth drums. Serendipity.
The only problem was that Groove's friend was serving 8 consecutive life sentences at Chattagay Correctional Facility in Franklin County.
The group drove up to Franklin County, and after hearing a short audition, Ira Comdog called the governor and had the prisoner released into the group's custody. Unable to gain access to his real name, the group simply called him Rappin' Sam. With the addition of Rappin' Sam, the group was now complete. They finished their work on their second studio album, Curious Jorge, and changed their name to the much simpler Harmonious Pimps of Harmony. While they promoted their album, they played small clubs around New York City.
Hip-hop fans thought they were too soft. A cappella fans thought they were too hardcore.
And despite initial struggles, the group's problems were finally solved when, on stage, in front of the world, a misunderstanding between Apollo and Justin Timberlake ended violently, culminating in the Harmonious Pimps physically beating all of the members of NSYNC without mercy.
Well, it wasn't so much what he said, it's how he said it.
Well, what did they say?
I don't know, something about, how you doing? I like your belt. It was bullshit.
That night changed everything for my guys. All of a sudden, hip-hop fans saw how hardcore the Pimps could be, and a cappella fans were too scared of the group not to listen to them. After that, it took only 3 months for their third album to surpass Thriller as the best-selling album of all time. Ding Dong. That's when I bought a vault full of gold coins that I swim in. Like Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales.
The rest is history. HPOH has performed the world over, including the Vatican, the Great Sphinx of Giza, and some river in the middle of the African Congo. They leave us with one thing to say. Thank you, pimps. Thank you for everything. I swear I'll pay you that money. I just need another week. Just one more week. Please?